Hello again, everybody. I'm Chris Mooneyham, and welcome to the TCA All Sports Report. As always, brought to you by Fox 5 Atlanta, 680 The Fan, and of course, the Touchdown Club of Atlanta. Well, thanks for joining us again, everybody, as we start to wind down the month of May, just past the third weekend in the month, and of course, just past the busiest 5 days in the GHSA calendar. What an amazing, amazing time it's been over the last 5 days for those of us who love GHSA athletics or work in the media business and cover it for a living. Without further ado, let's get into the multitude of recaps with what's happening. Well, an incredible 5 day stretch from Thursday the 14th through Monday the 18th. And I must be honest with you folks, I've waited as long as I could to cut the All Sports Report this week to let you behind the scenes of the minor production that is the TCA All Sports Report. I've waited until the very last moment. I'm cutting the All Sports Report here on Monday morning the 18th. Tried to wait to see if all of the championships would finish up. And of course, what I'm referencing is this week, the 1A Baseball Championship Series took place in 1A Public and 1A Private. Well, the 1A Private State Championship between Hebron Christian over in Decula and Kings Ridge Christian in Alpharetta, they met in are meeting in the 1A Private State Championship Series. They split the first two ball games, and if you're not familiar with the way it works here in the state of Georgia, it's a 3-game series all throughout the playoffs. So obviously first one to win two. Well, they split those first two ball games, and so game 3 going to be played Monday night. Now, by the time most of you see this All Sports Report, that series will be over, but in case we get it up on Monday afternoon sometime and you have the chance, again, Kings Ridge and Hebron Christian will be playing in the 1A Private winner-take-all Game 3 up in Alpharetta on the Kings Ridge campus. And I'm very honored to have received the assignment at the very last minute. I'll be in Alpharetta for the call of that Game 3 on the NFHS Network, which you can just go to nfhsnetwork.com, find the Georgia tab, and you can pull it up from there. Or you can go to ghsa.tv. Really looking forward to that. Brant Stallings, one of the fine players in that series. If he's not a major leaguer, he'll be at Georgia Tech next year. The 1A Public classification crowned their champions. Schley County, or Schley if you prefer, won the 1A Public State Championship. Remember, over the 5 day stretch from Thursday through Monday night, 25 teams were crowned state champions. And that's not even including the individual performers at the 2015 GHSA Boys State Track and Field Championships, which were absolutely dominated, or at least the storyline was dominated by one Ryan Clark. Clark, for those of you, I'm sure many of you out there probably not familiar, maybe don't follow track as you do religiously some of the other sports. Ryan, one of the top sprinters in the country, one of the top trackmen in the country. But the bag on Ryan throughout his 3 years previous, and he's been known for all 3 years going into his senior year, by the way, this kid was a highly touted freshman, could not necessarily reach those epic heights once he reached the state championships. Well, he did it this year, and he did it in amazing, grandiose style. Clark sets the all-time and all classification state records in the 100 and 200 meters here in the state of Georgia. He wins the events in the 5A classification. He did the 100 in 10.29 seconds, breaking a record that was held previously by D'Angelo Cherry. Then in the 20, he came in at 20.79, breaking Tariq Hill's record from Coffee County. I got to tell you something, folks. This was really, and I know as broadcasters, again, and I say this all the time, we're prone to hyperbole, but I've got to tell you, when he ran that 100 meter, it was one of the great all-time high school events I've ever covered. The entire stadium, and if you've never seen a track and field event in the state of Georgia, which is top 3 every single year in the entire country, I mean, we churn out Olympians here in the state of Georgia. Olympians, not just national championship contenders, but Olympians. So track has a very knowledgeable, sharp fan base when it comes to the top runners in the country. The entire stadium, and there's a very festive atmosphere, everyone all over the place mingling, coaches, players, family members, very educated group there. The entire stadium stopped what they were doing every time Ryan Clark got onto the track. It was an absolutely stunning development, especially in the 100. A hush came over the grandstand, the infield, and the backstretch. Everybody went to a complete hush, came to the edge of the track, and watched Clark set those records. He closed the meet by helping lead Banneker to the 5A 4x400 meter relay championship. Again, an all-time, all-classification record of 3:12:03. Now, I can't give you all the updates on all the team championships that took place up in Jefferson. It was an honor for me to be on the call of it. But I implore you to go to ghsa.net or whatever local media service you like to partake in, and you can see the developments and all the championships that were crowned between the 7 state championships in the 6 classifications. Of course, 1A is split in that classification as well. Okay, then there were the soccer state championships, 12 of them to be precise, down in Macon on the campus of Mercer University. I was on hand for the Thursday and Friday call with Justin Hanover. What a scene it was. Hebron Christian wins the state championship in penalty kicks in the very first game of the 12, beats Fellowship Christian. Westminster dominates Blessed Trinity in the second half and wins 3-0. All 3 goals, in fact, coming in the second half of the 3A girls championship. St. Pius beats Marist in the 4A girls championship. Again, a penalty kick finish. And then in the 4A boys, the nightcap on Thursday, St. Pius pulls off the double dip and beats Cross Keys 1-0. On Friday, 2A girls, GAC beats Lovett 2-1. Then the 2A boys right after that, GAC dominates Wesleyan, pulls off the double dip, wins both state championships in 2A. 5A girls, Stars Mill 2-0 over Northgate. Could have been a whole lot worse than that. And then 5A boys, Dalton continues a 60-plus game unbeaten streak. Just one tie for the Dalton Catamounts boys soccer team over the last 3 years. Just one draw for that team over the last 3 years. Absolutely unbelievable. I think the streak is at 64 or 65 unbeaten. They beat Allatoona 4-0 and lay claim to a potential national championship, as a matter of fact. On Saturday, I was up in Jefferson, but they still played soccer matches down in Macon, even though I wasn't there. Strange. No, but Atlanta International beat Stratford Academy 3-0. West Hall beats Calhoun in the 3A Boys Championship, 3-1 the final in that one. Grayson absolutely crushes Lambert behind one of the best players in the entire country, Jennifer Westendorf, 5-0 the final in the 6A final. And then Duluth beats the defending state champions Brookwood in the boys final in 6A. What an amazing story for Duluth to win a state championship, quite frankly. I don't mean this to sound like a smart aleck, in any sport. Congratulations to Duluth on their state championship win. And then we turn to lacrosse. Kell wins 16-13 in the 1A through 5A championship over Westminster, on the girls' side, that is. Boys classification, boys side of the 1A through 5A, Westminster gets a little, well, not revenge, but they win the boys championship 7-4 over Lovett. The Milton girls win yet another title. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Milton's girls win another title, 9-6 over Walton in the 6A girls, and then Roswell defends their state championship by winning the 6A championship. What an amazing, amazing week. 25 state champions crowned in the state of Georgia. This is the weekend that we've been talking about for so long, and 25 state champions crowned between Thursday and Monday in the state of Georgia. Time for what's next, and look, we've only got 2 programs left, only 2 episodes left in the 2014-15 season for the TCA All Sports Report. Coming up next week, we'll give you a recap of the Golf State Championships, which are taking place on Monday the 18th, and of course, the most high profile of the spring championships. It will be the Baseball State Championships. 2A through 6A begin their state semifinals on Monday the 18th. And I got to tell you something, folks. I'm pretty disappointed. If I'm just being honest on air here, pretty disappointed that I can't give you a championship series preview. But by the time we get back here on the All Sports Report next week, the championship series will be over. The championship series will be over. So, at any case, the semifinals across the state, we know our Final Four now in each of the 2A through 6A baseball classifications. Semifinals start on Monday the 18th with a doubleheader. If a Game 3 is needed, that'll be on Tuesday the 18th. It all leads to the state championship series, which will begin with a doubleheader on Saturday the, what day is that? The 23rd. Saturday the 23rd, the state championship series begin across the state of Georgia. Again, with a doubleheader. And if a Game 3, a decisive Game 3 is needed, and most certainly there will be at least one, that will be played on Memorial Day. Expect the first pitch of any Game 3s across the state to be roughly anywhere between about 1 and 5 p.m., maybe 6 p.m. at the latest. But usually when they get to a Game 3 on Memorial Day, they want to try to have them as early as possible and let everybody get home for the holidays. So, we now begin to wrap up the GHSA calendar by the end of Memorial Day. By the time we all hit the sack on Memorial Day, the 2014-15 GHSA athletic calendar will have drawn to a close. Coming up next in the My Take portion of our program, we talk about a kid who 6 months ago had very few, if any, offers, and now he's a Georgia Bulldog. Well, a great story emerged this past weekend. I was quite busy, so I didn't see it until Sunday night, but I take great pride in one of the great stories over the weekend, the commitment of one Tyler Clark from America's Sumter. He now is a Georgia Bulldog, and some recruiting services have him as a 4-star defensive tackle. And just 6 months ago, before his appearance in the Georgia Junior Bowl, most had him, at best, in 2 stars or potentially 3 stars. But the point is, whether you believe in the star system or not, Tyler Clark from America's Sumter, a really, really great story. You know, I've mentioned many times here what's great about the Rising Seniors program and the Georgia Junior Bowl, which I'm very fortunate to be the play-by-play man for. I call it every year for ESPN. And the program that they've put together over there, Joe Burns, the former Georgia Tech star, and his program, really, really something. It's great what they do during the week. They bring in SAT and ACT prep courses and teachers. They bring in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They bring in financial people to help them work on their finances, social media people, NCAA compliance, all that. And that's what makes that week so tremendous. But what also makes it great is the actual game that culminates the week, the Georgia Junior Bowl. Because what it does is it brings a lot of the great players from across our state together, the highly recruited kids that everybody knows. But at the same time, it also brings together a lot of kids that nobody knows, that fly underneath the radar, at least no one outside of broadcast media circles, the average fan, and some of the recruiters across the country also don't know. That's what makes the Georgia Junior Bowl truly great, because what it does is it brings a kid like Tyler Clark into the fold, gives him an opportunity to work against some of the highly touted offensive linemen, and gives him a chance to show his wares. Again, he went from a virtual unknown at the beginning of the 2014 football season, through his junior year, at times was the most dominant lineman in the entire state, to now to about a 2-star going into the Georgia Junior Bowl, to now being a Georgia Bulldog and a potential 4-star recruit. What a great signing. Rusty Mansell and I highly touted this kid during the broadcast. We knew that he was an emerging star and deserved more recruiting analysis, deserved to have programs come in and take a look at him. So we'll take some great pride in potentially playing a part in his recruitment. Look, the kid is tough. He's got good football acumen. He's got an endless motor. He's quick and he's fast, because there's a difference. He needs to work on his technique a little bit, become more fundamentally sound, but you know they'll do that his senior year at America's Sumter and, of course, at the University of Georgia as well. Now, what does it mean for the Dogs? Well, they've got 11 commits verbally for 2016, of course. Keep in mind, this is really where I wanted to go with all of this. Keep in mind, and this is big information for all you recruitniks out there, so kind of perk your ears up if you've started to tune me out. This is big. The state of Georgia is going to potentially be number 1 in the country at the end of the 2016 recruiting cycle for defensive linemen. Now, they'll certainly be top 5 in my opinion. Maybe top 3, and potentially Number one for defensive linemen in the entire country, the state of Georgia. Again, remember, it's not just Tyler Clark, but it's also Julian Rochester at McEachern, who at times can be incredibly dominant. He's a kid that takes on two offensive linemen and blows through a fullback. Derek Brown is also maybe the number one defensive lineman in this entire country out of Lanier, and again, the entire country, not just the state. He has yet to decide where he's going to play his college ball. There's Antoine Jackson out of Cedar Grove. There's the kid out of Lithonia, Smith. And then there's another tier of 5 or 6 guys who are also really good, if not dominant, who may get themselves into that top 5 by the beginning of the signing period in 2016. So watch out for defensive linemen starting to dominate the storyline here in the state of Georgia through the 2015 football season. Okay, next week, championship baseball recaps and a whole lot more. Until then, I'm Chris Mooneyham for the TCA All Sports Report.